Bonjour, everyone. Good afternoon to you. I am David Hayes. I appreciate you being here today with us. I know it's getting close to the end of Ramadan, so happy Ramadan to all of you. I am here. There are a few housekeeping things for you. You can see on the screen. As you join, please mute your microphones. And then secondly, if you have questions, please ask them in the Q&A box. So we have a Q&A box. We do have a chat box. I'll be monitoring that as well. And available to answer your questions. I'll try to do those in real time for you. So as you have a question, ask that question, and I'll see if I can answer it for you as we move forward, okay? So this is session 4 of the Entrepreneurship series. I appreciate you being here with me. I am David Hayes. We're talking about some of the things to deal within entrepreneurship. We spoke about the evolution of entrepreneurship, and I made a case for you, and I'm going to recap that. And the case is that we should all have entrepreneurial capabilities or entrepreneurial abilities, and those will serve us well regardless of the job that we're in. We talked about the entrepreneurial mindset, and then what comprises that entrepreneurial mindset. Let me go back to that screen. What comprises the entrepreneurial mindset? Today, we're going to talk about some tips and ideas for developing your entrepreneurial mindset. What are some of the things you can work on? I'm going to approach it from 2 different perspectives. One from what we call the entrepreneurial mindset profile and things you can do to look at your personality as well as your skills. And then I'm going to speak very briefly about this, a book called A Whole New Mind. And within A Whole New Mind, very easy to read book. What are some ways you can think about your entrepreneurial mindset from a different preview or different perspective? 2 weeks from now, on the 5th of June, we'll have a panel conversation that we call Entrepreneurship in Action. And I think that will be a very exciting session for you. We have a Moroccan entrepreneur. We have a Swedish social entrepreneur. And then we also have on the panel a corporate entrepreneur from the US, from a Fortune 500 company. So they're all going to be online speaking about what entrepreneurship means to them, as well as what a mindset is for them, and then what are some things they think about in their environment. And of course, they'll be available to answer any questions that you have. So let's go talk about developing an entrepreneurial mindset. I want to recap where we've been. So I made a case for you, and that case for you was this, that we all need entrepreneurial capabilities. And why is that? We know that for new venture creation, or if we want to start our own company, we have to be entrepreneurial. But there are the needs within large organizations to be entrepreneurial as well. And those needs are, if we say that organizations that consider themselves to be innovative, to be creative, those organizations, large ones, outperform others in profitability, in growth, in revenue. So we see that those that are large need entrepreneurial skills. Of course, starting our own company, we need entrepreneurial skills. We see global workforce overall, we see within the global workforce that there are trends to people not being full-time employed, to being contractors, to be freelancers. And of course, with the COVID situation, we see an opportunity here in terms of the need to be able to respond to something that is outside of our control. We mentioned on here too, those of us that went to university and got degrees, 7 out of 10 of us do not end up in a career that is related to our degree from university. So if all of that is the case, I say and assert that entrepreneurial capabilities are of increasing importance to us all. So I want you to think about being entrepreneurial versus being an entrepreneur. So looking for opportunities and being able to assess those opportunities regardless of where we work in the environment that we're in. So we spoke about this thing called a mindset. And I made a case that the development of a mindset is important to us all, and that if we have an entrepreneurial mind or mindset, that will empower us. We also see that the future The future will exploit those that have entrepreneurial mindsets, the ability to react to uncertain conditions. Certainly right now we're in uncertain conditions. Those of us that can find opportunity, seek out opportunity in an environment that is uncertain, will be the ones that will have a better chance for success. What is that mindset? So we talked about a few sessions ago, the mindset. It's our attitudes, our beliefs, our assumptions, our values. What expectations do we have? What are the things that influence our behavior? What influence our thoughts, the conclusions that we draw, and then the action that we take? That's our mindset. We spoke about what drives a mindset. So we talked to you about skills as well as traits that differentiate those that are entrepreneurial or are entrepreneurs from those that are not. So my research is within this field. I happen to use a tool set called the Entrepreneurial Mindset Profile Assessment Tool. And that defines 7 skills that you can learn, as well as your personality traits. And it says that these are the things that separate entrepreneurs from non-entrepreneurs. So what are the things that we have in our skills? So can we learn to be future focused, come up with good ideas and execute on those ideas? Can we learn to be confident, optimistic, and persistent in the pursuit of new opportunity or new ideas? And then finally, interpersonal sensitivity. Can we learn the importance of empathy and the importance of understanding what other people think about us and understanding how the needs and wants of others should be met? You notice I have this 3 things called self-confidence, optimism, and persistence. They are components of entrepreneurial self-efficacy. And self-efficacy is the confidence that we have and the combination of that with actual skills that can drive us and move us forward. Now, why do we mention this thing called self-efficacy? The research shows that self-efficacy or confidence in actual skills are a very large predictor of our ability to have an entrepreneurial intention. And that's to take an action that will drive us forward with new venture creation or with innovation or with creativity, that if we can develop our entrepreneurial self-efficacy, we have a better opportunity to develop our entrepreneurial mindset. And then we have a better opportunity, if we develop our entrepreneurial mindset, to do some intention or action in the future. So we look at these 7 variables as well as our personality traits. And there are 7 different personality traits that differentiate entrepreneurs from non-entrepreneurs. And those are what you see on the screen. Generally, entrepreneurs like more independence. They don't like a lot of structure. Generally, entrepreneurs are non-conformist. They accept high levels of risk. They have high levels of taking action. They're very passionate, and they're very driven in their need to achieve. But I want you to consider looking at these, and we'll talk about this later too, thinking about what are the things you can do to develop skills, entrepreneurial skills, the 7 you see on the screen. And then if we can reflect on our personality, could we think about opportunities that we would pursue that are best suited for our personality? So not everybody is best suited for starting your own company. Not everybody is best suited for maybe working at a large organization. So we do have here a question, and I think it's a really good question. What are the resemblances or differences between an entrepreneurial mindset and a growth mindset? They're very well linked. So when we have a growth mindset, that we have one that really is one that will explore, one that will assess what our beliefs and assumptions are. We look at the entrepreneurial mindset as a growth mindset specifically related to entrepreneurial activities. So it really is a growth mindset. And if you look at the 2, you're going to see a lot of resemblances between growth and a growth mindset and these things that I'm speaking about on the entrepreneurial side. So I think that really good question, and I appreciate that. So the second thing that we have here, when we get about the mindset, here's that framework I want you to think about. And then we're going to dive now into what are some things you can do to develop that mindset. I want you to think about having a mindset that is developed by increasing skills, developing your confidence or your self-efficacy, so we have prepared ourselves for future opportunities. Okay, so here are our future opportunities. Where do we think about the opportunity that's best for us? We look at our personality traits and we say, based upon our personality traits, what kind of opportunity is best suited for us in the future? Should it be starting our own company? Could it be working at a large organization and deal with innovation and change? How about if we do consulting work or freelancing work, or could combine all of those to be something that would be best suited for all of us? I was speaking earlier the past hour with one of your colleagues, I think he's on the line with us now, about opportunities that may be best suited for him. And we looked at his personality traits, and then we said, okay, let's work on growing a mindset, and then let's align our personality traits with what our best opportunities may be. So what are those skills? Let's get into some things that we may want to do to increase skills. I made a comment to you that entrepreneurs have higher levels of focusing on the future, coming up with good ideas, executing on those ideas, being confident, optimistic, persistent, and being empathetic, or this thing called interpersonal sensitivity. So let's talk about things we can do to increase our ability to be these things. The first thing I want to point out to you, that if you're interested, I'll make you an offer, and that offer is you can send me an email request and I can send you an assessment called the EMP, the Entrepreneurial Mindset Profile Assessment. If you take that assessment, it takes about 15 minutes to take online, but if you do that, you'll get a result that shows you where you can develop skills, and that comes along with a development guide. So you get a development guide that covers the 14 scales on personality as well as skills of things that you can do to be more entrepreneurial in your endeavors. And here's a great question. Is there a correlation between being a successful entrepreneur and ability to be a good listener? Absolutely, yes, there is a correlation. If you think about what I just mentioned, interpersonal sensitivity. Interpersonal sensitivity or empathy is understanding the needs and wants of others. So if we understand the needs and wants of what I call internal customers, those that work with us, as well as external customers, are customers. What are their needs and wants? What are the needs and wants of others that I'm involved with in a team, within a large organization? That means we've got to be a good listener. That means we need to understand versus just thinking we know what the answer is. So yes, successful entrepreneurs are better at understanding the needs and wants of others. They're better at being good listeners. And we'll give you a few tips that will allow you to think about what you can do for the needs and wants kind of above others. So I think a great question for sure. Now, let's talk about the first one. I want you to think about those things, the skills that you can focus in on. And a matter of fact, I want to go back and let me go back a slide or two. And I want to say we have some options here. We're individuals. We can say, there may be things on this list that I don't know that I really care to deal with now. So maybe within my job, I don't worry as much about coming up with good ideas. Maybe I'm worried about executing on those ideas now at my organization. Okay, so we can decide that maybe there's one of these skills or maybe a few of these skills that I don't want to work on right now and improve. That's an option. Option two is for you to say, you know, I want to be better at one of these skills, so I am going to work on that skill. Let's say idea generation. I want to learn how to come up with good ideas. I know that we can teach you, we at university can teach you to become better at any of these skills. And I know that the research says that you can become better at any of these skills if you want to. So first option was to do nothing. Second option is to become better yourself at any of these skills, and that's what I'm going to talk about in a minute. The third option is this, to say, I don't know that that's going to be a strength of mine in the future. So for example, if you see my scores, the lowest score I have is execution. So is that something that maybe I form a team, align myself with other individuals that are better at that skill, that complement me and the skills I have. So I form a team that have people that are good at things that I'm not good at. The first hire that I had within my company, I'm an entrepreneur by trade. My lowest skill score is execution. The first person that I hired in my company was somebody who dealt with daily operations, a manager that dealt with daily operations. Okay, so what I did is realize that may not be my strength. Hire somebody that has that strength. So this is what entrepreneurs do. They form entrepreneurial teams of people that are complementary in their skills, so that we have people that are good at all of these things, so our team can be an effective team. So if you had a team of everybody who's good at executing on your team, but not good at coming up with good ideas, I would suggest to you that that team may not be all that effective, because we never have ideas that we come up with that we can execute on. Another example is everybody's good at generating good ideas. So if everybody's good at generating good ideas, we have nobody who's good at executing. That team probably will not be successful either, because we'll spend all our time coming up with good ideas, but never executing on those ideas. Okay, so I understand we can improve skills, most are measurable, etc., but how can I improve my optimism? That's so personal. Well, optimism is a skill that we can learn, and I'm going to give you some tips. It is personal to be optimistic. It's also personal to be confident, right? But if you think about any of these are all personal. To learn how to be persistent, to learn how to have better empathy or interpersonal sensitivity. These really are all personal things, but I can tell you this. Generally, I'll say to individuals, focus on some of these other skills. And as you focus on these other skills and you have success with those skills, you become more optimistic. So you're going to find that a lot of these are interrelated. Okay, they're interrelated to each other, and you'll start to see those interrelationships as we move forward. Can you outsource other skills? You score low in execution. Can you bring somebody in a team who scores high in execution? Absolutely. Remember, we have three options. Do nothing about some skill or variable, acquire the skill or variable ourselves, or finally, bring somebody on your team who's good at that skill. And all of these are possible to you. Okay, is there environmental impact on the success of entrepreneurship? Does the environment influence it more than skills or traits? Great question. And you're going to find out that the research is mixed on this. What is most important? Are entrepreneurs born? Are entrepreneurs made? Does one's environment have an impact on our ability to be entrepreneurial? The answer there is yes. The answer is the environment that we're in can have a positive or a negative impact on us and our movement forward to become an entrepreneur. So we may be in an environment that really supports the growth and development of entrepreneurship. We may be in an environment that is more risk adverse. So for example, I had students that came from France. They came to the US to study at university. The reason that they did that is because they felt they had a better opportunity to think more about innovation and creativity than they did at the towns where they were located in France, which was more corporate oriented. But remember, I'm making a case to be entrepreneurial, and that case to be entrepreneurial says that we have to be entrepreneurial no matter what our environment is in. And final thing on environment, that we have a way to overcome the environmental influences, if they're negative ones, on being entrepreneurial, because we can show the success of being entrepreneurial for that environment. So it can be where we live, it can be the corporation that we work in. By applying these concepts, we can show success. We can take small steps forward to show others that we can be successful. All right, okay. Why do many managers like to have executives rather than those that have ideas? Because, and it's a great question, because to manage an organization means to execute on ideas and strategy. So we want people who can execute on ideas, and they're needed within an organization. But management is more about execution than it generally is about coming up with good ideas and about setting some bigger vision and being innovative and creative. My case is that the corporation that is a corporation of those that just execute will not be as successful as one that can execute and come up on good ideas and can focus on the future. And the data absolutely supports this idea. We need both though. We do need people who can execute as well as individuals that can come up with good ideas and can help drive and reinvent the organization. Now, I want to quickly get into a couple of things to show you. All right, so we don't have a ton of time, but quickly say this, that if we're going to focus on the future, we need to be focused on the future as well as executing. So we start thinking about the tips and ideas are, what do we need to be successful 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? What are those things that we need to do? And we start thinking strategically about tasks. Okay, so we start thinking about what are the tasks for a group to function well together that are important to get us to a 5-year goal or a 3-year goal. Yes, what are the things we do every day? Those are important, but now we start laying into that. What are the things, and we think about success not today, but success not tomorrow, but 5 years from now, a vision. And we start overlaying that vision into the things we do every day. Keep the organization moving forward every day, but also keep the organization moving forward to a vision that it has in the future. What innovation do we need? How do we drive that innovation on a daily basis, but also what are we going to be doing later on from now and moving that way? So I'm going to roll through these fairly quickly because we have limited time. But I want to point out to you for idea generation, this is coming up with what? Novel ideas. Where do good ideas come from? What approaches do we have for reaching multiple goals? We can absolutely teach you where good ideas come from and how to generate those good ideas. You notice I have this comment here as a tip to be whole-minded or to be right-brained with information. And I'm going to speak about that in just a second with a book called A Whole New Mind. This is the second approach I'm going to give you, a whole new mind. But look at problems from a different perspective. Seek out those problems that we can find solutions, innovative solutions to. Okay, can we translate future focus into a business plan? Yes, we absolutely can translate it into a business plan because our business plan needs to be one that is reinventing itself, that has a vision for the future. So our organization can continue into the future and continue through innovation. If you think about a corporate life cycle, and you can look this up, it's very much like a product life cycle. We have a curve where a company takes off, and as it's taking off, we're growing the company, it will reach a plateau. And at that point of maturity within our organization, we have to have ways to reinvent our organization. And we do that through innovation. We do that with a future focus, which translates into our plan of action or our business plan to reinvent ourselves. And I could give you, and we don't have a ton of time, but within my organization, I had a product. I started my company. It was a multi-million-dollar US software company. But within a few years in our organization, we had competitors that entered the market that we were in. We had to then reinvent ourselves, our product, expand our product offerings, and always have innovation. That was all in our business plan as that drove us forward with our plan. So we can come up with good ideas. We can teach you to do that. We can teach you to write down questions to, I wonder if, why do we do things that way? Here's one, how do we compete with organizations with more resources? And I say, let your mind wander. That means set aside the question, take a walk. Don't think about it. See what your brain has to tell you, what the subconscious tells you. And you're going to find solutions that sort of arise to these ideas and problems that you may find and that you may have. How about execution? So we do have to actually have action on the ideas that we come up with them. We need people. We can examine the people, the procedures that are within our organization, and are there obstacles there to getting things done? Can we focus on a few of these? Because we all know we have obstacles to getting our jobs done. Can we focus on 2, 3 of these and write out a plan of how do we address these obstacles? And I know that at, for example, OCP, that you do a lot with the movement, and you're working on these types of things. But we can work on a few things in a specific plan to eliminate the impediments that are there, the obstacles that are there for us to get our jobs done. How about self-confidence? That's our ability to leverage our skills and talents to achieve our goals. So we can, here's a tip, we can spend some time thinking about who we are, where we want to go in our career. We can think about things that have made us successful. So we can write down our accomplishments that we've had over the past several years. And then we can think about, well, why were we successful? In that environment, what made us successful? And do we now have the ability of applying those things that we did to make us successful to current projects that we're working on? So when we think about our confidence, what made us successful in the past, translate those into things we're working on now. So we always think about the past to move forward into the future. The question here is future focus a good foundation for being innovation oriented and being an entrepreneurial driven in terms of our mindset? We have to be future focused. So we have to think into the future to consider what the things are that we need to do in the future and work on those things today to get us into the future. Daily operational things we have to execute every day, yes, but we must always be mindful of the future and assess our environment in the future. I just mentioned to you as a company, a technology company, we were working on our current product line, but we always have to think into the future. When people catch up, what are the things that we need to do to innovate? What are the things that we need to incrementally improve to continue to expand our product line and expand the life cycle of that product line? So I think an entrepreneurial mindset is about thinking about the future, and it is about leveraging what we do today to make us successful within the future. How about optimism? How do we maintain a positive attitude? Okay, so we know we're always faced with adversity. We always know that there are things that we could respond to within our daily lives. That could be at our company that we're working for. That could be things that negatively impact us. So when you think about those things, we're looking for patterns that are the negative thoughts. And those are the things that interrupt us from moving forward and being optimistic. They may be self-doubt, it could be anxiety that we have. And what we want to do is we want to make sure we know when those things are occurring within our mind. What are the patterns in our mind? And we want to analyze them. We talked about an internal locus of control. We want to know within that internal locus of control, what are the things that really are true or not true? The majority of fears that we have, the majority of the negative thoughts that we have never come true. They're not the things that maybe we should be focusing on. We've got to think about the whole picture. We've got to think about and put aside those things that really aren't true. It's called challenging our assumptions. Where do our assumptions come from? Why do we have that? And then we've got to be able to move on with a positive attitude to thinking. Okay, persistence. Persistence, you notice, falls hand in hand. Instead of getting discouraged, we've got to keep thinking about what our goals are. We have to set aside those things that have become obstacles or setbacks to us. And we have to realize that if we give up, that maybe we're trying different strategies, that setbacks can keep us from moving forward. And generally they do for most of us. Entrepreneurs, or the mindset of an entrepreneur, is to keep going and moving forward, to assess opportunities in different ways, because we're all going to have setbacks. So there are things we can do to work on increasing our ability to move forward in a logical, persistent way. Okay, some of these traits, and here's a question, are skills of emotional intelligence. Absolutely. So you're going to find that, yes, and I try to describe these in a different way from emotional intelligence, but yes, they're all intertwined, and they certainly are shared skills with emotional intelligence. Interpersonal sensitivity. Let me talk just very briefly about this. Think of empathy. Think of understanding and having a concern for the well-being of others. And generally, if you think about the great entrepreneurs of the world, the Stephen Jobs, the Richard Bransons, Bill Gates of the world, those individuals don't have much concern for well-being of others. They've been successful because they're very driven. In today's world, whether we work for a large company, if we're working for our own company that we've started, I work at university, requires us to be team-oriented, and it requires for future success to understand and be able to address the needs and wants of others. So we mentioned earlier, listening. We mentioned the idea, isn't listening a quality of a good entrepreneur? The answer there is absolutely. So we've got to say, set aside what we think we already know, and we've got to understand what other people are saying to us and their needs and wants. And again, this can be a group of people in our organization. As importantly, our customers' needs and wants. Because if we understand what our customers are thinking, we're able to better understand and formulate a response that will have a positive impact either on our team or a better solution and better products for customers. So if you come to me and you have a great idea, one of the first things I'm going to say with that idea is, now take that idea and go out and talk to 50 or more potential customers. And the reason I'm doing that is so you understand what the needs and wants of your customers really are. And it works the same within your team. We all have personal agendas. We all have things that we want to achieve in life. And it's okay to those things to be different for each of us. But if we understand what they are, we're going to have a better team, and we're going to have better well-being of those team members. So I'm going to blow through these very quickly because there are ideas for traits that you can work on, but I want you to focus on a different way. So I'm really not going to cover these much, but they will be in the presentation. So you guys can see that there are things we can do to work on. Can we become more independent? Can we be more accepting of people that are independent? The answer here is yes. Can we work on our need for structure? Can we work on opportunities that are less structured? And can we get comfortable in that kind of an environment? Yes, the answer there too. Can we think about people that are nonconformists, that act unique? Okay, are there ways that we can be a nonconformist that are beneficial to the organization, that can actually help the organization? How about risk acceptance? Can we learn to accept more risk? Now, on this one, I caution you, this should be calculated risk. There should be risk that is acceptable, mitigated, not taking unneeded or unnecessary risks that don't give us the return that we're after. So if we have high levels of risk acceptance, I want you to think about taking risk that is calculated, where we maximize the opportunity and we've decided that's an acceptable risk to move forward with. And action orientation, can we learn to be more action oriented? We can, and there's some steps and ideas that we have here, as well as being more passionate. Can we learn to have more passion about things that are involved in our job where we're helping others? And I'm going to go quickly through need to achieve, because I want to do this. In the last minute or two here, I want to focus you on, there's another approach here too. And I want to introduce this book to you called The Whole New Mind. A Whole New Mind gives you the ability to think about entrepreneurial skills and your entrepreneurial personality in a different way. And it says this, it says that we should be thinking both about the things we normally focus on, the left side thinking, which is logical, linear, analytical thinking. And if you're in engineering, you probably do a lot of this. If you're in finance, accounting, you probably do a lot of this with the logical thinking. But now can we activate the right side of our brain so we have whole mind thinking? Can we look at information and put it together in a different way that other people haven't seen before? So numbers are important, logic is important, analytical skills are important. But if we combine that with right brain thinking, can we now have an opportunity that allows us to use our whole mind? This is a bit blurry for you. It's a bit crazy, right? On the screen, all this stuff going on. But let me show you what Daniel Pink says to kind of put all of this together. Can we think about the big picture? Can we think about being more innovative, more creative? Can we use artistry to come up with things that other people have never come up with? And this is what we mean too by developing skills for the entrepreneurial mindset. Daniel Pink calls it Highconcept. He says, if we can activate our whole brain, we can find patterns and opportunities that people have never seen before. So Highconcept and then Hightouch. So he calls this thing Hightouch, and he says, if we understand the needs and wants of other people, we can provide solutions to them that will give meaning to life, that will solve their needs and their wants versus what our needs and our wants are. And he introduces to you in this book, which is a very easy read, A Whole New Mind, 6 concepts: design, story, symphony, empathy, play, and meaning. And he says to you that if you learn these concepts and you learn how to use these concepts within your business life, could be your personal life as well, you're going to have a better opportunity of being successful within the future. So we've really run out of time for these things. I was going to show you one example of it, but I'll save that for maybe some other time. But I mentioned skills earlier to you, EMP skills. These can be skills that also align with the entrepreneurial mindset. Okay, so I'm going to pass that. And this was one that I really had on design I was going to share with you, but I think we simply have run out of time to really speak about that. So here's the deal though, that being entrepreneurial means more than starting your own company. Okay, so we have one comment here, you know, Daniel Pink, more with motivation. Daniel Pink has a whole series of information that deals with motivation. He started with whole brain thinking. And he started with this concept and idea that we can be entrepreneurial if we activate both sides of our brain. It teaches us innovation. Now he does a lot in terms, of course, with motivation for sure. But entrepreneurship to me is more than starting your own company. It's being entrepreneurial. And it's about developing a mindset that allows you to be more successful. So whether you work for a large company, you start your own company, you're a contractor, a freelancer, that entrepreneurial skills and an entrepreneurial mindset are required for future success. And you can learn your skills. You can learn the entrepreneurial skills and the variables I gave you, or focus on your whole mind, or do both. And then you can use your entrepreneurial traits or your characteristics. Who are you? To shape the opportunity that you want to have in the future. So there are some things we can focus on. Now, I want to give you an offer here, and you may want to write this down because I don't have it on the screen, but my email address. If you're interested in taking the Entrepreneurial Mindset Profile, you can email me and let me know, and I'll send you the assessment, and then we can schedule a time to go over your results if you'd like to do that. You can reach me at, get your pen handy, at david.hayes, H-A-Y-E-S. So that's david.hayes, H-A-Y-E-S, at mac.com. That's mac.com. So david.hayes at mac.com. And I can send you the EMP if you're interested in that. So let me know. I want to know what you think. I want to know what your questions are. If you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A box. Thank you very much for putting my email address. I see that in the chat box, that you have put my email address there in the chat box, and that is it for you, so you guys can have that information. And if you have questions, I am open and available to any other questions, comments that you may have. While you're doing that, I want to point out to you that we do have a final session coming up on June the 5th. That will be a panel conversation of an entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur, and a corporate entrepreneur. They'll be speaking about their experiences with entrepreneurship in each environment, the development of an entrepreneurial mindset, what that means to them in their environment, and then they'll be available to take any questions that you may have. So, any questions, anything that you guys want me to answer for you? I'm available. We have a minute or two. If there's anything else that you'd like to have answered for you, put it in the Q&A session. You can always reach out to me at my email address as well. So I don't know that we have any new questions, at least not any that I can see in here. Because we do have one. The importance of failure in the process of developing a mindset. Well, failure has positive and negatives. Let's give you the negative first. If you fail along your line of developing a mindset, that can be holding you back. It can be something that you feel that you're not confident moving forward with. The however here is we all fail. I started my software company because I got fired from a previous job. And that allowed me with that failure to go start a software company. The plan I put together wasn't always successful. So as I had failures or obstacles along the way, it taught me that things happen, sometimes outside of our control, and then how we develop a plan to be more successful is what really propels us forward. So failure is part of the process. We got to sort of pick ourselves up, we learn from that failure, and we move forward. You always hate to say, well, yeah, you know, you learned a lot when you failed. But I can tell you as entrepreneurs, we all do learn a lot kind of as we fail. So here's a final question. We'll use this one as the final one. How come the traditional HR test as a MPTI can be used to measure the entrepreneurial mindset? I am not sure that it can. I don't know that I know that specific test. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to find a test that was specific to the entrepreneurial mindset. They're going to share things in common for sure. I can tell you when I looked and I assessed all the tests, not many, if at all, just this one, really measured the entrepreneurial mindset. So there will be things that are specific to the entrepreneurial mindset that I think that can't be measured in other tests, typical HR tests. There may be some overlap. I can tell you though that the one that I've offered to you is one, and if you reach me at david.hayes@mac.com, that one does measure specifically your entrepreneurial mindset. You're welcome to send me your info on the MBTI, and then I can show you what the overlap may be with that versus the entrepreneurial mindset. So one more question here. How often should we spend time thinking about who we are? Is it only once, or should we keep doing that? You must do that all the time. You have to think about who you are at any particular point in time. Who do you want to become? And we always reflect on who we are at any time and who do we want to become. I can tell you the person that I am today is different than the person I was a year ago. And it was the same for you. It's a journey. It's a lifelong journey. And it's one that I hope some of the information that I've shared with you today has helped you with that journey, but you've got to continue on. So I appreciate all of your time. Thank you very much for your attendance.